that make you feel? Giving a child his freedom.
Felt good.
You have been at this for 12 years.
My country, 'tis of thee.
Why are you doing it?
Because God's children are not for sale.
Okay, we're off.
Charlie Delta, we are go for exfil.
We're in. As soon as they upload the podcast, then they're ensnared in Operation Honeypot. Wait, hold on a second. Hold on, we get some quiet for a second. Just want to hold on. Just listen. Do you hear that?
No,
that's right. It's the sound of freedom. You're not hearing it because you're not free.
Can we talk about the title? Like, before I knew this was like, a movie about buying and selling kids, I thought this was like, one of those movies about deaf people that really gets the community up in
like
up
last year's Oscar winner, Coda. Everyone loves Coda, right? Everyone
or The Sound
Coda
of Metal
every other month. Can't get enough of Coda.
Yeah, everyone's talking about Coda, but no, I thought it was like, I going to like maybe be a movie that's like against cochlear implants.
Yeah,
and I was like,
documentary.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, I'll steer clear of this one. Not my business. But lo and behold, it's all about children arbitrage opportunities, and how you can get a deal flipping children. You can quit your job by flipping kids.
He does quit his job to flip kids.
Yeah, he gets some fixer-uppers from Mexico.
They do way too good a job of showing you step by step how there is big money in child trafficking. And it's not that hard to do, apparently.
It's the fastest growing criminal enterprise. As soon as it's going to take over the global drug trade.
It's the fastest growing criminal enterprise in the world. What if I told you could get on the bottom floor of the fastest growing criminal organization in the world? The growth possibilities are endless.
I see a lot of people out there in the audience tonight at the seminar. You're thinking, why sell a child when I can sell heroin? Because you only sell heroin once. As Jim Caviezel explains in this movie.
I love that, but like you also don't have to feed heroin, Yeah. You don't have to keep a roof over heroin's head and like make sure it doesn't run away.
I love that when he's like making that stupid point and he goes, cocaine, you only sell it once, but the most precious, beautiful child in the world, you could sell them 10 to 15 times a day.
Yeah. And here's the thing, though. You never just sell cocaine or heroin once.
Yeah. I'm done. Oh, wait a minute. I got to do that again? I thought that was going to take care of it. I thought I exchanged you one brick of cocaine for the Scarface house, and I just chill there forever and do rap videos. Now, what? That's what I was told.
All right. Well, it's Monday, July 10th, and we're back with another episode, a new edition of We Watched It, So You Don't Have to. And in case you hadn't figured it out, in case you haven't figured it out already, we're talking about the sleeper indie hit taking America by storm. It's the A Call to Arms to dismantle the global child trafficking sex slavery rings. That's the fastest growing criminal enterprise in the world. We're talking The Sound of Freedom, starring the Passion of the Christ himself, Jim Caviezel. This
America's
movie,
most famous romanche. That's right.
This movie.
He's a fucking Swiss. Get him out of here.
Oh, God.
Ew, that's what he is?
Yes, he's fucking romanche.
Oh, I just assumed he was New Zealish or something.
No, I thought that being Maltese was the most annoying thing you could be as a white person, but he topped it. No, I'm not like German Swiss or French Swiss. I'm the one with the blend of all of them. I'm the magical sprite. I'm basically Heidi.
I'll just say, but before we get into the film itself, I think we do have to give due credit to this genuine independent movie. This movie's funded by a Mormon movie studio, and when it opened, it came about $1 million away from knocking off Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
And remember, this is a movie that was shot like 5 years ago.
Yeah, it was filmed in
This thing is from
2018.
And that just shat on the shelf because no studio wanted to touch it. It was too hot. They didn't want to rile up the hoople heads. So these Mormons showed up with a dream and a vision, and they put it out on the streets, and the fucking streets are going crazy for it.
And like, look, listener, please believe me.
This pack.
Please believe me. This is a movie that would win every Academy Award were Hollywood not controlled by pedophiles or people who have seen a movie before.
Yes.
And, like, I know you've probably seen headlines about this movie that, like, this is the QAnon style movie that's taking America by storm. Listener, the movie would have been a billion times better if that were the case.
I wish it was QAnon.
It was.
I was begging for someone to mention adrenochrome, show me some Hollywood sickos, a zip tie on a suburban mall, SUV handle, something. Nothing in here.
This movie was incredibly dull.
Yeah, this movie, the style of the movie is like Mitchell. That's the genre of movie it is. It's exactly as like muddled and like boring and
slack.
Like sort of confusing.
It is all slack. There's no tension between anything.
There's not a single moment. I mean, this is a movie about, like I said,
slack line between the scenes in this fucking movie.
There's a movie about buying and selling children.
Yeah, it's like
there's not a single moment of tension or fear or emotion or anything. It is the flattest movie.
It's too bad too because it looks like a movie, which is you cannot say about all these things. A lot of these things look like VHS snuff films. This movie has like decent cinematography. It's got like rich backgrounds. It's got, thoughtful lighting, and it has like a cinematic feel to the image. So that's why it's so frustrating that they spend 90% of the runtime with a static shot of a guy morosely walking towards a desk before sitting down and staring out a window. And saying they're God's children. It
has like The Reliant, I think is like the greatest example of a Christian movie that like, it looks like, a direct to VHS. It looks like it was filmed on a home camcorder.
It looks like it was 10 years ago.
Yeah. And the content matches, right?
Yeah.
It's like, is that the guy or the other guy? That's the style of film it is. But this is like, it's more jarring here because this could be like, the Amazon Jack Ryan show. But it's constant, just the viewer is left to wonder, is this the guy? Is that the guy? Is that the other guy? And in between that, all the scenes that aren't Jim Caviezel saving a beautiful, precious child from being sold is him in an office. Yeah. And like a fellow agent being like, you know what the hardest part about being an anti-pedophile agent is? By the time we get the kids, they're already molested.
They got all the molestation all over them.
That's like a crucial plot point, is that one of the agents is like, you know what I realized? We never prevent kids from being molested. We only save them after they're molested. What if we
only arrest the sickos?
What if we got them while they're molesting them or before even? And Jim Caviezel's like, I never thought about that. And that just sort of kicks everything into action.
The movie is written and directed by a guy named Alejandro Monteverde, and he had another movie that he wrote and directed that won some audience award at the Toronto Film Festival. So it's like you said, Matt, it has the look of something that could potentially be a movie or at least an Amazon TV series. But before I get into the content of the film itself, which is dull as dishwater,
boring,
it was so boring. I would just like to say that, formally, despite looking cinematic or looking like it was shot with a modicum of competency, formally in terms of the editing and the pacing, it was so strange because I feel like, especially in the first third of the movie, there was not a single character moment or scene that was ever allowed to develop. Yeah. It's just one guy would say something to Jim Caviezel who then would look haunted. And then before a dialogue or any plot momentum could develop, it just cuts. It seems like the movie was made for people who are very familiar with the story of Timothy Ballard, the Mormon slave stealer who now has an empire, an anti-child trafficking empire called OUR, which stands for Operation Underground Railroad. and we can talk about some of the Yahoo shenanigans that they've got up to. But like the focus on the movie itself,
Yeah, you're right.
was just like
this movie treats him like a celebrity that we all know, and we're supposed to fill in the blanks.
It's like the Johnny Cash biopic in that way.
Yeah.
But like the pacing generally being off is like it's in the last 40% of the movie, I would say. I kept thinking the movie was ending on whatever scene I was watching. It's so fucking off. Like I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's a product of like how long it sat on the shelf or like what, but it just, or if that was like wishful thinking, but it just always felt like it was about to end for the remaining like hour.
Harry Potter, or no, Lord of the Rings syndrome.
Yeah.
The other one, same thing, same deal. Elves, wizards, same thing. The other thing that makes this movie weird is that you're watching it and all these classic fucking show horse character actors show up. Like,
Kurt
there's
Fuller.
Bill Camp. There's Kurt Fuller. There's the fat guy from Southland. This feels like it should be a movie, and yet it isn't.
Oscar-winning actress Mira Sorvino is in this movie for
4
all
lines.
of 20 seconds.
She has 4 lines. I counted them. She also has 2 additional lines, but I don't count those because they're texts that she sends him. And so you don't actually hear her say them. So 4 lines spoken.
How do you think they managed it? Do you think they were like, we're going to tell everyone that your dad, Paul Sorvino, was actually secretly executed for eating children unless you act in our movie for 2 minutes? She was like, okay, fine.
Oh, man. And then, of course, it stars Jim Caviezel, who has has the oddest like frosted dye job in this movie. Like his
Sort of
hair
a
in
Mark
this movie
McGrath
is insane. Yeah.
Yeah, like
And
imagine being a child and being rescued by a man with like, I wouldn't even call him frosted tips. It's like frosted brisket.
He's got
Just long
just got
strands
frosting
of
on
frost.
his head. Yeah.
It's like it's lacquered.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's portraying this real life guy who was actually, I think, appointed. He testified before Congress, and he was appointed to the Trump administration in some ceremonial role where he promoted building a wall on the border to stop all the kids from being trafficked over it, I suppose. But I mean, like this Operation Underground Railroad is basically like as it's depicted in the movie, and the credit sequence like shows real footage of like one of these stings that they set up. It's basically like an international version of To Catch a Predator and like those perverted justice people, because they combat the child sex trafficking in like Central and South America by sending people to these countries and just asking people, hey, can I buy a child? So like they sort of like create a demand for child slavery.
These people just don't get that part of it. Like Christians love to do this during the Darfur War in Africa and the Sudanese War. They would fucking create these orgs that would go and buy slaves in Sudan, and it's like you're just creating a market for slaves. You're guaranteeing that there's more of a reason to just grab someone because there's more people who will pay for them.
And like they were involved in some case where they like employed the use of a psychic. They've claimed credit for all kinds of rescued children for which they had nothing. I mean, like, look, I think that this organization does like, look, I believe that they go to these countries and do these ridiculous stings or whatever, but they certainly, there's a great deal of exaggeration in both like the way he's portrayed in this movie and then their actual like highly dubious rescue work, which involves literally like, to stop child sex traffickers, you have to become a child sex trafficker. And the line between the two is sort of hard to tell at many points in this movie.
Yeah, the reason that I didn't really look too deeply into it, I know that there's controversy on all of their claims, but the thing that makes me just prima facie disbelieve them is that this guy, in his public embodiment and in Caviezel form, what he radiates is Chris Kyle, who's too big of a pussy to kill anyone.
Yeah. And you know what it is? You know what it is like, think of anyone who like maybe even like did rescue some children, right? Let's say like they rescued 5 children and they were like this altruistic person who like gave up everything to do this. Do you think they would, if like crazy people started calling him this hypothetical guy, like the divine savior of children, a living angel who rescues children and keeps them perfect forever, they wouldn't just accept that. You know, they wouldn't go like, no, I'm just doing my job. You know, I'm not a hero. But this guy just accepts all of that. He's similar to Chris Kyle. He's sort of taken on this role and accepted the branding and is like, yeah, I'm actually Archangel Angel Michael. I'm immortal and I was sent to Earth to save children, which just like it tells me he's like sort of full of shit.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I don't want to.
He's got the Eric Adams thing. He's got to one up himself. It's never good enough.
And I mean, like, look, I have a little bit of a information. Like, this is from Anna Merlin Advice has been writing about this organization for a while, and I just want to read a little bit from just give some context for this movie. It says here, according to a source with knowledge of the investigation, among the matters being looked into are whether our operators, that's Operation Underground Railroad, have engaged in sexual acts with human trafficking victims, whether operators have been intoxicated while on missions, whether our operations have created a demand for trafficking victims, and whether our has committed human trafficking itself by enticing people who are not previously traffickers with large sums of money. They also, okay, I'm just going to go jump ahead here. So keep that in mind. But to your point about whether you were like someone who was actually like truly sort of devoting their life to be like a Harriet Tubman for like modern day slavery, would they also have an underground XFit LLC CrossFit gym, a for-profit subsidiary of the Underground Railroad organization?
It's just, I don't think that Harriet Tubman would do that.
Yeah, Harriet Tubman would not sell like her own pre-workout.
She had her eye on the ball. Is the thing.
I don't think she would do that.
She was locked in.
Harriet Tubman wouldn't show up on like a promoted Instagram ad and be like, buy my pre-workout. And by the way, if you have a Roku stick, you can watch this movie I made about how cool I am. Even if she lived today, I don't think she's doing that.
I just want to get a few more details about this organization and just like, once again, try to imagine Harriet Tubman in this role. Ballard himself, meanwhile, who wrote a book called Slave Stealers and is listed as an executive producer. Ballard, who wrote a book called Slave Stealers and is listed as an executive producer of a planned TV show with the same name, is connected to a Utah-based business called Slave Stealers LLC.
Do they incorporate that into the CrossFit program? Like they make you pick up like an 80 pound like heavy bag, and they're like, this is the weight of a really overweight child. Can you steal him away from FARC?
Okay, yeah. Actually, the end of this movie really makes it seem like it's the FARC Colombian rebels that are hugely involved in the child trade.
Yeah, move over Catholic Church. No Epstein. Yeah. No, it's the fucking FARC who are doing all the child trafficking.
And also,
like if you didn't already like pick up that there's something funny about this, the FARC thing should completely tip you off. Oh, that's really convenient. it's FARC. Wow.
It's like in Bad Boys 2 when the villain kidnaps Will Smith's sister or girlfriend or whatever to Cuba, and then they got to go get her back, and they're like slaloming through the favelas, destroying like meth labs and shit.
So yeah, so this movie is a genuine indie hit. It's the product of slave stealing productions.
I don't know how to say, because a lot of people are saying that they have like gotten tickets to what were shown as full theaters. They go in and there's nobody there. There is a thing that I have seen where the company is doing pay it forward tickets. So like someone else is paying it forward for you to see this movie. Click on this button to go get tickets, which there is some sort of dirty money flowing into this thing to make it look bigger than it necessarily is.
Well, hold on. Like, don't you think it's possible that like there were like people did buy tickets, but like before they got to the movie, they were kidnapped and sold?
It's true.
Well, okay, two things.
Very possible.
They moved the cart that was by the back of their car, and then whoop, they're gone.
Yeah,
touch the cart.
Okay,
they're like evil Latinos who have contacts within AMC theaters and know that they're going to see this movie.
Well, okay. I think it's highly likely that like there's a certain MLM quality to the movie sales, ticket sales for this movie. It's like how every like conservative talk radio or TV guy who writes a book, it gets on the New York Times bestseller because like conservative publishing houses work with these like contractors that do bulk purchases of books that are never sold. They're just given out as like swag bags at like the, Council on Foreign Relations dinner or whatever. So I think the great deal, a lot of that's going on with this movie. Did you see, however, the video of that woman who thinks that like people are trying to stop people from seeing this movie because the AC at a theater she went to was broken?
Some point today, the tickets got refunded to my friend and we couldn't figure out why. So we come anyways to the theater after dinner and they're like, oh, well, we refunded all the tickets because there's no air conditioning in our theaters. There was air conditioning in the lobby. There was air conditioning in the hallways. There was air conditioning in the bathrooms, not the theaters. They don't have the bartender or anything in the theater. I smell something stinky, and I think it's shit.
Yeah, they were making it too hot. They shut it down. But the lobby is cold. But it's like, yeah, they use one pipe for the entire thing. You fucking dullard. I will say this: I saw this in the theater, and it was full. There were heads. It was, in fact, a full C. I was in the second row. That was where the tickets were. I was wondering, hey, are these people actually going to show up? And they were there. And I will tell you this: not one of them clapped or honked like a goose during the Nicole Kidman Glory of Movies AMC thing. And I got to say, I was very, very glad. I can't say the same for Asteroid City, those fucking annoying douchebags.
I gotta say, this is a different clientele base than like the soy letterboxed crowd who they think they're the only person who thinks that Nicole Kidman ad is quirky and funny. Mm-hmm. But I gotta say, I watched that video of those evil MILFs screaming about the AC, and I just thought I had a flashback to when I was in my early 20s working at a bar patronized by such evil MILFs. And I really think if I was in a situation, if I was 23 now and like a QAnon MILF screamed at me, as a service employee, because she thought I was tampering with
you
the
would
AC.
Kill for her.
If one of those women
could MK Ultra you.
Yeah, if one of those women came up to me and was like, I know what you did to the AC. George Soros, David Rockefeller paid you to fuck with the AC so we wouldn't see the child selling movie. I would get so hard that I would have to go to the hospital.
But that wasn't the only thing. It wasn't just that in some places the AMC was out, but someone replied to this with this just killed me when I saw this. This guy, Alex Junikovich, some sort of Slav, I'm going to guess Croatian, said, I had the reverse scenario. I nearly froze. They turned up the air conditioning so much in Regal that it was unbearable, but I refused to move/leave the theater. I'll likely get sick, but I felt a sense of duty to not leave the theater and felt it was inappropriate to complain considering the content of the movie. Thank you for your service, sir.
I love the idea. I love imagining just like, in my mind, they're in the control room. It's obviously an evil Jewish guy.
The Kohlmeister is there.
Yeah, the evil Jewish guy, Kohlmeister, and then like 3 MS-13 guys with teardrop tattoos who are played by the guys from Training Day. And the evil Jew is like, make it colder. Why aren't they leaving? Don't they know they're gonna get sick? And the MS-13 guys are like, I don't know. They're going to watch it. No matter what we do, they're going to get us. It's like, if they're going through that level of sabotage, why wouldn't they just like not show the movie?
I will say this. It was cold. It was very cold in the theater, but I also stuck it out because I felt I owed it to the show and to the listeners.
Well, listener, I will come to the fact
I'm also a hero like that guy.
I look like it. I did not see this movie in the theater, but like let me just give you some background here. At the end of this movie, there's like a post-credit sequence where Jim Caviezel implores you, the viewer, to just like pay it forward and buy out theaters and just send people, your church group, your friends, your family, just send them to see this very important movie. And I took that message to heart. So I've been torrenting this movie from the same Indonesian gambling website that Felix watched The Flash on. So that's why I watched this movie, which I think added to the experience. I didn't, but look, Matt, whether it's all, they're playing a little fast and loose with the numbers, everyone does today. And the point is, this was still $1 million away from that Indiana Jones movie, right? An Indiana Jones movie
He's
nearly
so
got beaten.
Why do they keep making him do this? It's just cruel.
Nearly got beaten by Child Flippers, starring Jim Caviezel.
They got to leave Harrison Ford to die. Let him turn into a weed. Let him turn into marijuana and then blow away.
He's miserable. I will say, I like Will. I watched this torrented, and same advertisement for the slot website as The Flash. I think it's the same guy getting cams of all these movies. But doesn't watching a shitty cam of this make you more like that's like how you would watch this if you were being trafficked?
Yeah, it added to the realism. And just one last thing about the ticket numbers for this movie. Since this movie has come out, we have had a someone from the Attorney General's office of Alaska bought tickets for everyone in their office to see this movie. And Dana White of the USC has just announced that he has bought tickets for every employee of UFC to go and see this important new movie. And look, that's how you know a movie has the momentum of a runaway freight train, when people's annoying bosses are buying out theaters to make you go see it.
I will say that I'm glad I saw it in the theater, because I got a real confirmation of a political trend that's ongoing. The people who went and filled that theater and who clapped at the end were demographically not the Republican base, but the Trump base. It was older whites and younger Latin families. That was it. And it's like, you look at that and you're like, those are the people who are Republican because they make good stuff to watch, you know? The people who are engaged with like the psychic world being built by Trump and like his backwash. And child trafficking is key to the whole thing that brings it together.
Well, Matt, you bring up a lot of the young Latino families seeing this movie. And I think another interesting thing about this, this sort of independent success of this movie is, for a movie in America where like basically half of the dialogue in this movie, and there's probably about 20 pages of actual dialogue in this 2-hour movie, but half of it is in Spanish. Like half of all of Jim Caviezel's lines are in a foreign language, which I thought was interesting. So we've sort of given you the background here, the Sound of Freedom. But let's talk about the film itself. The movie begins with a portrait of a man winning Father of the Year in Honduras after he hands his children over to audition for a talent show, and then they're put in a shipping container. Don't do that.
Whiffed on that one, Dad.
Yeah.
Someone is winning the bad dad contest. That is just like, how do you fall for that? Hey, like, first of all, it shouldn't get past, hey, I noticed your kids are hot.
Yeah, seriously.
That it shouldn't get past that. But even if it does, hey, your kids are hot. I want them to be in a beauty pageant. But in order to do that, they have to live with me. How the fuck? How are you just like, okay?
Oh well,
Sounds
no.
good.
See, it's simple. You just you say, Dad, bring the kids to the audition place, and then when they shows up in the morning, you tell them, no, Dads can't be here. Come back 7:00 tonight, and then they go and do that, and they leave, and then when they come back, they're gone. It seems like that's the kind of thing you could do literally once in a town. So I don't think they really established this was the first time they'd ever done that, because I would imagine that would get around.
They were previously doing it to people who like didn't like their kids. they like, that happens to them. Then 4 years later, they're like, oh wait, we had a daughter.
Yeah, they
fuck, where
didn't
is
bother
she?
like printing out slips. Or the fake brochures. They just would like see somebody being like clearly annoyed by their kid in public and be like, "You want us to take them off your hands?" And that's fine.
Have you ever thought your kid had talent? No, well, we do. And then like in the credit sequence is like sort of cobbled together like CCTV footage of kids being just like brazenly scooped off the streets of not American countries.
I love that part because it really does, like, it gives you the experience of like viewing this question of, child trafficking or whatever, totally through the lens of a social media feed. Just disconnected videos that are scary and upsetting. And you don't know who are they from. You don't know what the context is. You just know the image and you feel threatened. And it's like, oh my God. And this movie is like literally projected through that prism and so it's very, I think, artistically savvy to put that right there, to like put people in that mind space of like, stop thinking about this, just feel.
And well, I think it's like there's really the feelings in this movie are very ersatz. Like it's just very like template. Like you hear the music and you see like a single tear roll down someone's cheek, and then like you're sort of made to feel a certain way. But like I just once again I'm astonished at like just how flat everything in this movie is.
Oh,
like,
God.
There's just no stakes at all.
This thing, everyone is like dialed to like zero, and of course they're following with Caviezel because he is just in the fucking center of the earth. Like he is just this void, and
Yes.
no one, like you could see people like trying to like work with him. Like there's a subtext in all the scenes with like Kurt Fuller and Bill Camp where they're kind of being like, "Come on, Jim, work with me."
Yeah.
And they're just getting nothing back.
They get nothing from him. He just like all he does is like look haunted. Like that's his thing. And like, you know,
he was a good actor.
He was a good actor. Jim Caviezel was a very
bad
good
guy
actor.
in Deja Vu. Terrifying.
Oh my God, he rocked in that movie. And Terrence Malick's in Red Line. I hear though my little birdies tell me that he is an absolute nightmare to work with. Like
I
an
can't believe
absolute
it. What?
lunatic.
No
Yeah.
way.
This high-strung freak who's created a whole gallery of mental torments to avoid confronting his demons is hard to work with. Interesting.
That is probably why in this movie he has the worst action hero one-liner ever, I think. And it's I think you guys know what I'm talking about. It's, it's when they're early in the movie after they introduce the character, he's like he's doing like a one-man sting operation on a pedophile. Who looks like one of the Beastie Boys in the Sabotage videos.
He does. Oh my God. He looks like Nathan Cochise, Nathan Wind.
Yeah. He's like stringing this guy along, and then finally they like get him to like an IHOP where they arrest him, and the pedophile is like they kind of try to, I think the director of this movie probably watched In Too Deep before directing this scene. They were like, oh, we need to replicate that You Ain't No Cop Jay Reed scene. So the pedophile is like, what the fuck? I trusted you. And Jim Caviezel, in an action hero line that no one will be repeating, says, never trust a pedophile.
Trust the pedophile.
Which makes it seem like he's like a undercover pedophile. Like he's still a pedophile, but is like working for the cops.
Yes,
that's
because
the
you're
worst.
supposed to believe at first, oh, he's pretending to be a pedophile to lure this pedophile and gain his trust. But that line says, no, he's telling the truth when he tells this guy that he shares his lust and wants to learn from him. Like the family shit is the facade. He's telling you with never trust a pedophile that he is the fucking pedophile.
That is, when I heard that line, all I could hear is RXK Nephew in my mind saying, Jim Caviezel thought that dumbass shit was hard. Jim Caviezel thought that never trust a pedophile line was hard.
Mel Gibson thought that bar was fire.
It is. No one's going to be saying that. No one. He's not going to be like, I'll be back.
My Mexican unk know where that good young pussy is.
Unk doing Operation Underground Railroad in the
okay, well, I mean, like, this is some background of like what leads up to the never trust the pedophile line. So, like, we're introduced to Caviezel. He works for Homeland Security, and they're like anti-pedophile unit. And he's put away hundreds of pedophiles, but he's never rescued a victim of child sex trafficking. And like the rookie new guy's over in the corner puking his guts out, and he's like, I've been to hundreds of murder scenes, but you know, something like once you see all these images, it just, you know. It stains your soul. And then Jim Caviezel's like, I never really thought of it that way. So then he, the pedophile that they arrest.
I thought this was a pornography cataloging job. That's what it was. That's what said the old classifieds wanted government official to catalog pornography from the child variety.
And one of the things,
that's what I've been doing. I don't know what your problem is.
He like there's a brother and sister. They're the ones that are taken in the beginning of the movie, and then he has this pedophile in custody, and then he takes him out of custody and begins to try to like get under his skin by being like, you know, in this job I have to watch everything. And
I love it.
When you're exposed to that kind of beauty, the secret truth about what all men are really like. And then this guy's like, tell me more. Like, he's like, any chance you're just playing me here? No. So like, it's just, the plot is he begins to act more and more like a pedophile to set up these increasingly elaborate stings on pedophiles as he seeks to track down this brother and sister that we see taken in the first part of the movie. And like this leads him to quit his job in Homeland Security and go to Colombia, where he's just basically freelancing with Bill Camp. And I want to talk about the Bill Camp character, because when I say the Bill Camp character, I mean the only character in this movie.
Yeah.
He was the only figure in this film that had any personality, any backstory, any memorable lines, and it was the only one actually acting. So, like,
I want to say one thing, though, about before we say goodbye to him for the rest of the movie, Kurt Fuller, because there's a scene in this movie where it's supposed to be a confrontation between Tim and his superior officer about whether he can go to Colombia and try to like pursue this and actually save some kids instead of just responding to this. And instead of it opening with any kind of, hey, got a thing for you, it starts with Jim Caviezel looking out the window forlornly of an office and Kurt Fuller going, "What's wrong, Tim?" And then it's just from there, him like pulling teeth from this mopey teenager. It fucking stinks.
How is pedophile school today? Fine.
But yes, we get Bill Camp at least. And Bill Camp is the only, as you say, the only spice in this chili. He is our only capsicum.
And basically, like, he's playing a character, like, I didn't get this. Was he an American who worked for the drug cartels, or were they trying to pass
I think he
Bill
was like
Camp
the
off as a
American
Colombian
face
guy?
of the Medellin cartel.
And like, he's a guy who was like a cartel. He like laundered money for the cartels in Cali, and then did a bid for them, and is now out. And he becomes sort of Caviezel's contact in the Colombian underworld, because he's a guy who's like taken upon himself now to buy children, but buy them.
He's a child buyer.
Them. Yeah, he's a child broker, but he's doing it for good.
He's a good, yes. He's doing what they did in South Sudan, same thing.
And this leads to my favorite scene in the movie, the only memorable moment of this movie, like the only thing that stands out in my head, is the scene where Bill Camp's character is going to like sort of, hip Caviezel to the Colombian underworld, and he's like, okay, first things first, you can't come in here dressed like you're walked out of a Banana Republic ad. You got to look like a horny pedophile American. So that means big loud Hawaiian shirt,
flip flops, cargo shorts, Fieri casual.
He's like telling him to dress like every guy that's going to see this movie.
Operator on vacation.
And I like that the guy that this movie is based on, Tim Ballard, is like a Mormon. So like when he goes abroad, they're like, could you dress and act like a clueless American? And he's like, sure.
Got it.
Done and done.
We need you to look like a complete asshole. I don't know if I can do that.
Before he goes to Colombia, he gains the confidence of the pedophile he arrested to have him personally arrange for him to buy a child, the brother that was taken earlier in the movie. And Caviezel like arrested like this other gross pedophile who's like trafficking this kid across the Mexican border. He arrests him at the border and frees the brother that we saw get taken in the beginning of the movie. I don't know if you guys caught this, but after he frees him, he takes him to eat at a restaurant called American Burger.
Yes, I wrote down American Burger.
American Burger.
That was supposed to be that was supposed to be like Jerusalem after 40 years in the desert.
Yeah.
That was the Holy Land. Was American Burger. That's how you know the kid. Nothing bad is ever going to happen to the kid again.
The kid has eaten of the flesh. He's eaten the burger.
Yeah, that is American communion. Eating the burger.
That is our flesh. And a high fructose corn syrup soda. That there's your blood of Christ.
All of
that is in the Warhammer future of America. That is literally our priests will be dressed like operators and feed you a burger. and then instead of your like confirmation name, you get an operator name.
Skunk.
Yeah.
Flat top.
Dingo.
I don't know if you guys I don't know about you guys, but for me, all of these scenes with Caviezel and the young boy reminded me of the Simpsons episode where Homer becomes a big brother to that kid. He's like, Papa Ballard, you are so learned. It's pronounced learned, boy. So Ballard is pretty chuffed that he rescued this kid and reunited him with his father, but unfortunately the sister is still missing, and he's just like, oh, I can't, it's not the family hasn't
This
been
just
reunited.
got personal.
Yeah.
This shit got real, as Martin Lawrence said.
Yeah. And so it's like that's what leads him to quit his job at Homeland Security, because usually I love
10 months shy of his vested pension. He's a saint. He's a living god.
Usually he gets killed. Usually in movie tropes, you get killed 10 months before you get your full pension. No, and I like that the Kurt Fuller character doesn't try to dissuade him from any of this.
No,
he's not like no, you can't go to Colombia and buy children under the guise.
He doesn't say, I'll see what I can do. Like, maybe you've got some banked vacation time that I could bridge out. Nope, just don't let the fucking door hit you where the good Lord split you.
Felix, what the fuck are you doing? Are you making dinner?
What are you doing, Felix? Are you conjuring an elixir?
I'm doing
this motherfucker making potions.
I'm doing a child ceremony. No, I'm decanting tea. Sorry, I thought I had it away from my mic.
Decanting tea. Okay. So him and Bill Camp come up with the mission that they do in Colombia is basically create Epstein Island Part 2 and buy 50 children at the same time. Now, this gets into the thing we talked about earlier, where in some respect, this is because they talk to the child traffickers and they're like, wow, we've never filled an order that big before. I guess we'll just go out and kidnap some more kids. So I mean, it's
like the push it to the limit scene in Scarface.
Oh my God, Felix, I had it. I have in my notes here.
So cool if they had put some peppy editing in there. It's a nice background.
I have my notes here. I really want to push it to the limit style montage of him buying children in Colombia.
Yeah, just the same thing of the banker watching him come into the bank with just duffel bags full of kids squirming around and be like, how are we gonna launder all these kids?
They're walking into the McDonald's playpen with duffel bags, and then walking out. Push it to the limit.
I love that he's doing that. And you pointed it out, he, after telling his boss, I'm quitting this job to buy kids full time. It's that scene told me he's an incredibly shitty operator.
Mm-hmm.
If they're because that job, it seems highly specialized. It takes a lot of training and money to get an agent. You have to pass a background check. It's hard, right? Not a lot of people get to be federal agents.
You got to be a 4-year college graduate for one.
Yeah, and if one of them is just quits, I imagine that's usually a pretty big blow to a department. But apparently, he was so shitty. Just okay,
yeah,
have fun buying those kids.
Oh, thank God we get rid of this asshole. One more line item off the budget. More dead weight out of here. The guy who just would catalog the already cataloged child pornography and cry. Now we don't have to pay him anymore. Great.
I want to talk about the one bit of acting in this movie is of course Bill Camp, and the scene where he explains to Caviezel why he got involved in buying children for the purposes of liberating them from child slavery is this kind of it's the only real acting in the movie. But Bill Camp tells this story about back when he was in the life. And he was doing coke. He was blow. He was gacked up on that puro, that Colombian fish scale.
Ooh, yeah, that booga sugar.
And he had a condo overlooking the bay. And he was coming out of a bar, and he saw this hot young woman, and he picked her up and went home with her, paid her for sex. And then he says that after he got done paying her for sex, he noticed that she had Hello Kitty. I don't know, so there's some very childish pedicure or something like that. And then he was that's when I realized she was 14. And I was how much coke were you on, man? And he was just sort of and that's when I realized
coke affect your eyesight?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I mean, maybe it's just it made him so he didn't care or whatever, but he was just it's this moment of Bill Camp's a good actor, but he was I saw this darkness in her eyes, and I realized that like I was that darkness, like I was the men who like buy and sell.
And you guys
women.
realize that what this makes Bill Camp's character is a literal white hat pedophile.
Yes, and he is wearing a white hat for most of this movie,
and now he is stopping children from getting fucked. So like when people see all these QAnon people get stitched up for some sort of child abuse stuff, that's not hypocrisy. It's understood. You need to know the beast in order to defeat it, and some of these people are going to have that, but you goddamn it, they get results.
It's like what Denzel Washington says in Training a good narcotics officer knows and loves narcotics.
Yep. A good narcotics officer has narcotics in his blood at all times.
I've already described 98% of the plot in this movie. Like, I mean, I don't know what
that's it. Done.
Like that's it. And then like they do the Epstein Island sting and they arrest a bunch of guys. But the sister is not among them. And then like the last 40 minutes of this movie or so is, you want to talk about unethical practices in supposedly altruistic and altruistic charitable works. He pretends to be a doctor to get into the FARC controlled parts of Colombia and give vaccines to children, only to steal a girl from FARC rebels. And that would seem to sour the deal in any other future. I don't know, Doctors Without Borders.
That's like when the CIA burned a bunch of vaccine providers in Pakistan when they were looking for bin Laden.
Yeah.
That and like, why would FARC just like buy a child?
Like, they got a pedo commander. He was really good.
Yeah, you're just supposed to accept that it's like, not only are they evil terrorists, communists, they're all pedophiles. Like, you have to be a pedophile to get into FARC.
And like the sister is being used to process cocaine and also be a sex slave.
Because like what they don't understand is that, if you've got a social hierarchy like that, it's going to be harder to be pedophiles at the top than in the proven hierarchies of capitalism, where we know guys are trying to get children to have sex with, and which he has nothing to say about in this entire fucking movie. Instead, it's the one FARC chomo.
And like, this is supposed to be the climax of the movie, is him like stealing this girl back and like getting, ferrying her to freedom, to the sound of freedom. But like, there is just zero tension. There's just zero danger. It's just so boring. It's so boring.
It's Mitchell.
Yeah, it is Mitchell. It is Mitchell. And I gotta say, like, there is this. It is not total bullshit. Like the sting at the pedo island, that happened. Like, they show the videotape at the end of this movie. They show the actual footage. Like, it did occur, and Ballard was involved. But like, that's one thing, and like, that is one story. If you ended the movie there, you would have like basically a souped up and over lugubrious version of a relatively true story. But that's not good enough. We're talking about these guys always have to top themselves. That's not good enough because there's still a hole, And so actually there was one girl left, and I went into a dangerous rebel held territory to snatch her, which of course is the part of the story that is the hardest to collaborate because, oh geez, it's the rebel territory. That means you can't know what happened back there, as opposed to a military operation that went out like right off the coast of Colombia. So it's like, I'm sorry, you can see where the bullshit just like starts exploding off the screen.
Like I said, I mean, maybe it was because there were gambling ads popping up over most of the last 20 minutes of this movie, but I don't really remember much about it. He does free the sister, and the whole family are reunited. And I don't know, does he see his wife and family again ever? I mean,
no. They show you a picture of him,
of his like 18.
They show you
kids.
A picture of him over the ending credits, and I gotta say, the kids are disturbing looking. The children all had something wrong with them. I don't know what it is, but it was something about the cast of the eye. It was unsettling to look at. That's all I remember. And it had accompanying text that I thought was very funny because it said, in 2000 whatever, Tim created OAR of a revolution. No, wait a minute. No, our Underground Railroad. And he says the entire idea came from his wife. And it's like, well, you could have actually shown that in the movie, maybe.
Yeah.
You could have shown her saying, hey, I think you should do this, instead of just like, my God, those children. I support you.
I have to say, like, this movie was incredibly just like, confusing is like too exciting of a word. Even.
Yeah.
But like,
because you don't care. Confusing,
Mitchell,
you're like trying to chase it around. Like, you can't be asked to like move up your seat to chase any of the strands of this plot.
but like I'll say muddled. It's
Yes,
Mitchell-esque.
that's very good.
Yeah, it's Mitchell-esque in its muddledness and its sort of like indeterminability of multiple characters and everything. But it's not because it was a shitty cam rip, because we actually have a control group for that. I watched another shitty movie on a shitty cam rip like weeks ago. I watched The Flash on the same cam guy's output with the same gambling ads and the same shitty audio and way too dark video. And for how shitty as it was and how bad of a movie The Flash was, I still knew what was going on.
Yeah.
And so you can't even blame the fact that we got the worst torrent possible.
I mean, like in the first 20 minutes of this movie, I literally thought that like scenes were cut out of the movie by the shitty cam rip because it was
the opening thing where he stings the pedo is deeply, deeply confusing and botched in its execution, because it starts with them doing a fucking breach infiltration of a pedophile's home where this little guy, he kind of looked like a deracinated Christian Bale with a bowl cut. He gets busted and they find all these tapes of children getting molested from other countries, not in America. And then he has a conversation with his partner or whatever, who's like, this is fucked up. Maybe we should try to stop it. And he's like, whoa. So he strikes up a friendship with the pedo, convinces the pedo that he's a pedo, and then says, I would really like to actually experience the pedophilia stuff instead of just watch it. And he gets this guy to connect him to this network that brings the brother up to the Mexican border. And then he has this second part that is the most baffling, because he does this. He lets him out of prison with this vague thing of like, oh, I'll knock down anything that they put against you. But, he remands him into custody. And then they go to the IHOP, and he says, hey, a kid's coming. And so once he's got him, he starts laughing and he goes, you're under arrest for crimes against children. And then the cops come in and kick everybody's door down. And that's when he goes, I trust you. He goes, never trust a pedophile. But he's already been arrested by that point.
Yeah.
They're double arresting him.
Yeah.
It's the same guy. Like, you're supposed to show rungs of a sting where a guy gets arrested and then he stings another guy. You don't sting the same guy.
And like, okay, I'm not, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not involved in law enforcement. But like, after you've already arrested someone, they're in custody. Then the person who arrested you takes you out of custody, out of handcuffs, out of prison, and then asks you to commit more crimes on his behalf. Isn't that kind of the definition of entrapment?
Yeah, that's entrapping a guy.
You can't. Like, then he's like, not just you're being charged for crimes against children again.
Yeah, that's why I think muddled is better than confused. Because when that was happening, I couldn't follow it, so I just stopped caring, and then I was able to enjoy every new part by itself.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know how much more to say about this movie. The one last comment I want to make about it is at the very end of the movie, when it gives you like the footage of the real sting, and then it hits you with like the real stats about how many kids are trafficked, and like it's like the sobering moment. The way they phrase it is that there are more people enslaved today than when slavery was legal. And this is a thing I'm hearing a lot of lately. And I guess I can't help but wonder, and especially like their connection, they're trying to play up that like they're the modern day equivalent of Harriet Tubman, even though they're these weird Mormons who go to fucking Central America and just give money to people to buy their children. Did you guys not like in the way that that's phrased? Did you not feel that there's like an implicit thing that like by saying that there's more people enslaved today than during slavery? That guess what? Like slavery during America wasn't that bad because it's worse today elsewhere.
Well, they're definitely saying it's worse today. Yeah,
that is like a sneaky aspect of it. Yeah.
Like why do we care about that? Well, it's already gone. Bygones be gone. This is happening now.
Yeah, and obviously, I think this organization is ludicrous, but like, look, anyone who says this movie is bad is just accused of being a pedophile now. So I will say, I don't think that our Underground Railroad is trafficking children for the purposes of sex. I think they're definitely, and I'm just saying, this is just a guess on my part, I think they're trafficking kids for the purposes of adoption, which is what a lot of these Christian organizations do. Like when they save these kids from these bad, poor countries.
Yeah.
And they are literally, adoption is, I'm sorry, like I'm saying this as a kid who was adopted. Adoption is literally selling children.
Yep. It's
yeah.
connecting buyers and sellers. That's all you're doing. You're introducing efficiency into the market because slavery is ultimately inefficient.
And do you remember at the I forgot if it was 2020 or 2016 RNC, but when they brought that cop up who arrested those two people for fentanyl and then like took their kid.
Yes.
There's just there's so much of that. There's so much of that of like these like just glossed over whitewashed stories of like a good Christian family just like finding a kid and taking them, whether it's like from a foreign country or like somewhere in America. Then you never get the entire story. But it's like, from what we know about like foster homes and shit, like, how do you think a lot of these are going?
I think there's probably a lot of shit going on like with the Ukraine right now because they're
absolutely
they're white babies. You know, there's a lot of people like a lot of American soldiers like save children in Afghanistan or whatever who were like orphaned, and then their parents show up being like, "Excuse me, like you stole our child. Can we have them back?" And
remember
like,
Madonna?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just like this is all a process of like fully neoliberalizing the global supply chain of children, introducing markets and regulation to every level.
I mean, was there any other funny part of this movie that I forgot, or any moment of this movie that you remember? I mean, I watched this movie today and I've already forgotten it.
Not the movie, but I did see something today on Twitter, and it was people who are like deeper into QAnon than like this movie is for the normie crowd, right?
Yeah, there's there's barely even any. People say, oh, it winks at QAnon. Barely. There's almost nothing here. I know this shit, and I'm not seeing anything.
QAnon is so much more interesting than this movie. You know, there's like the supernatural comes into play with QAnon, but like people who are actually into QAnon, they were bitching out this movie because they did my favorite thing that people do, which is when they find a photo shoot that like a celebrity has done, where they do the poses that every celebrity in every photo shoot ever will do. Where it's like their arms are crossed and they're like, this is a satanic pose.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And they're doing that with Jim Caviezel. And they were going, you know, I thought this movie was okay, but now I have serious doubts about The Messenger. And then they were showing the agent, the founder of Operation Underground Railroad. They were showing pictures of him wearing a tie that had the Masonic symbol on it.
I've seen Goody Proctor.
Yeah.
She's been bewitching the milk calves.
I'll just, I guess to close out, I just want to read one more thing from this Anna Merlin piece about the real Timothy Ballard. It says here, Ballard laid out a secret plan to monetize his child sex slave rescue nonprofit.
That's what you want to do. Monetize the rot.
Ballard laid out a secret plan to monetize his child sex slave rescue nonprofit and proselytize prospective converts to the Mormon Church to close associates. When asked about the relationship between the entities on the whiteboard and what the terms sizzle and covenant mean in this context, a spokesman for Our said, no comment. So they created a sizzle reel to monetize and proselytize the work of their child-buying nonprofit.
So they want to act like they're Harriet Tubman, but what they actually are is OCP from RoboCop. Like they are bringing privatization and regulation to the child market.
Do you guys
because they're saying we'll adopt these kids or somebody will. We could make this worth everyone's while by if we brought it above board. Because that's the thing. They don't want to stop what's actually happening. They don't want to turn off the spigot that produces these sort of social relationships. They love that stuff. They just want this element of it to stop being upsetting to them to imagine. And you don't stop it. You can't stop it that way. But what you can do is monetize it and turn it into a different narrative, a different skin. So it's no longer child exploitation and pulling kids from their families. It's something else. It's something better than that. When in fact, you're just talking about the misery accumulating at the bottom of a social hierarchy.
Human trafficking for conservatives, it hits the same tone as toxic living situation for people on the left. It's the same. It's the same GoFundMe tactic. But do you guys remember Eliza Blue?
Oh, is that like the neo-Nazi girl who like?
No, not neo-Nazi.
Oh, I'm thinking of Prussian
like,
Blue.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
But Eliza Blue's different. She made her name being like an anti-human trafficking person.
Oh,
and
she's a
told,
complete
like,
nutcase. And
complete liar. Yeah,
total liar. Yeah.
She told these
I
insane
know.
stories where she was like, apparently she got trafficked like 12 times.
Yeah.
You know, like she would escape and get re-trafficked, and it's like all like made up, right?
Yeah, of course.
And she was so brazen, and she broke the cardinal rule of running to the mods to get people suspended when they would point out like there's something fucky about this story, that she eventually like got ostracized from the conservative sphere, right? And I wonder if that, you know, it was a bit of an accelerated timeline because she wasn't as deft as Tim Ballard maybe. But I wonder if that is going to be a common trajectory for people in the conservative online space.
Wasn't
people
she the person who came forward and said, I'm the mascot of Elon Musk's anti-pedo campaign at
Yeah,
Twitter?
that was Eliza Blue,
Yes,
right? Yeah.
yes, that was her. That was her. I wonder if that's going to be like, you know, every online political faction has their own like Icarus pattern. They all have their own types of people that rise fast and quick and burn out hard. And maybe for conservatives, this is it. People who like monetize human trafficking because it's such a salacious thing. And to involve yourself in it, you have to lie so much and so blatantly. And to maintain those lies, you do have to kind of run to the mods.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it will happen with Tim Ballard.
Well,
Or they'll get him for wearing the Mason tie.
Well, with the success of Sound of Freedom, just maybe like some sequels, The Look of Freedom, The Smell of Freedom, and just, you know, keep this franchise going.
The touch, the feel of freedom.
And like, look, here's the thing. Okay, the next movie though is going to be sort of a meta movie. It's going to be The Look of Freedom. And it's about the real Tim Ballard trying to make a sequel to this movie. And it's about like Jim Caviezel will be playing him, but it's about how he has to go to Hollywood and recruit pedophiles who understand how to make a fucking movie that's entertaining. And he has to get like recruit them with a sting that they're making like an evil, godless Hollywood pedophile movie. But no, they're actually making the opposite of that. They're just using pedophile movie making techniques to make it interesting and engaging to watch.
That would be cool because, yeah, you could have Jim Caviezel reprise his role as Ballard, but then Tim Ballard could play Jim Caviezel.
Yes, this is like the rehearsal.
Charlie Kaufman could never.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be cool.
I don't have anything more on The Sound of Freedom.
I really appreciated the movie for just thank you, movie, in a time that feels very, uncertain. Thank you for giving me a way to pretend that I am some sort of knight errant, setting free the sex slaves here left and right, because I post about your movie, I watch it, and then I'm vigilant in mall parking lots, and I get to be a fucking hero. And I'm a Republican. That
really is like the greatest thing you could do for your movie is to make just seeing it an act of activism.
Mm-hmm. They're running the left wing playbook. They're creating their alternative space within decaying neoliberalism out of the carcass of the old dying left consensus.
That's why I think that they're going to have a ton of like rising stars that burn out.
Mm-hmm.
They're just going to replay like 2017 to 2019 left Twitter.
Yeah.
I think it's just the exact same. Nothing changes. It's just different people going through the same motions.
So many DM'd lame hot pants. If you know, you know.
Tim Ballard posting. Hello, Grand Forks, North Dakota. Hello.
Tim Ballard gender flirting. To hold the secret chalice.
Tim Ballard going to like a Moms for Liberty event. Hey, I'm thinking about starting a women's anti-trafficking group, and we can all post our bodies in there. So in case any of us get trafficked, we can identify each other later. In case you have any tattoos, I'll have it in my database.
right.
Only a few people. Only a few people are really going to get these
goddamn.
ones.
If you did, though, you owe us more money.
Yeah. If
this
you get this joke,
You're a fucking freeloader otherwise.
yeah. If you get these jokes, man, then you probably know us personally.
Yeah.
I would guess. Yeah.
All right. That's the show. Bye-bye.